pull that up on their phone. I am very quickly going to be, we're just going to start on table 1, which just like last week is a 2-page list of all the things that you need to know. Good? This is no great mystery, but we do the lab tests based on this. Come back from spring break. Bone questions will come from these study guides. Is that clear?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So we've got that. I'm going to document camera. And the first thing it talks about is the clavicle. So that's the collarbone. And I will pull one of these out, and then I'll use that skeleton to point out as well. You can see it there. It's around the body. Give me a clavicle. Clavicle is important. Something I hadn't told you guys last week, and I should have, that is definitely, positively, 100% going to be true. There will be at least one station, probably multiple, on this test where you'll put your hand in a box and feel a bone without being able to see it. You're going to have to tell me what it is and probably what side of the body it's from, things like that. Or it might be what it is and what bony landmark. And this is one I've used for that before, the clavicle. So you can recognize this kind of loosely S-shaped collarbone. Good? But how do you know left from right? Well, there are a couple things. The first one is this middle right here. The medial, towards the middle, is kind of chunky, almost round. The other side is flat. You see that? The lateral side is flat. Think of the word flat having an L in it. Flat, lateral. Good? So, but that still doesn't tell you. I mean, if I tell you that medial is the chunky one and the flat one is lateral, how do you know if it's this one or this one? How can you tell which way? Well, there's one other thing. On the flattened side, the lateral side, there is a peak. There's a point. You see it? It is on the inferior surface, and it's to the posterior. So, if I put it over here, it's inferior, but it's in the front. That doesn't match. If I put it like this, the point is on the bottom and towards the back. Take a look here. On the bottom, towards the back. See it? So, this is a right clavicle. If you put your hand in, it's not a mystery. You know how to tell. You go medial, has to be the chunky. Look at the flat, and you make sure the point is down and to the back. You know left from right. Does that make sense? Okay. So, I'm giving you a little more detail than your study guide. Your study guide just says, oh, know the clavicle. So we've covered clavicle. You agree?
Yes.
All right, the next thing we're going to talk about is the scapula. Scapula is your shoulder blade. And here we've got a scapula. I've used this one for that also. For the put your hand in the box, what is it? Is it left or right? Now, there are a couple things you need to know on the scapula, and they're not complicated things. Sorry, I'm getting a glove here because this will be easier to see on the projector. Well, some of it will be easier. The first thing I want you to notice is where this bone is located. You would agree a shoulder blade, a scapula connects to the femur, the humerus. Yes, everybody good with that? Sorry, I said it wrong. Okay, I didn't mean it. Well done, well done. All right, so the head of the humerus is kind of ball-shaped, and it goes into the glenoid cavity or glenoid fossa. This glenoid fossa is super shallow, but this is a ball and socket joint. Are you with me? High mobility joint. So the first thing we're going to do is the glenoid fossa. Good? Since you know that the glenoid is going to be touching the humerus, you know it has to be lateral. Good? The other thing I want to point out is the spine of the scapula that sticks out horizontally. You need to know it's called a spine, and that will be true for, maybe I put a pin on this, what is this? That's true for another reason. The spine of the scapula, if you remember it, it'll make it easy to remember that this spot on the top, and it's not one of the ones on your list. If you look on your list, there are only 4 things. Scapula has the acromion process, the coracoid process, the glenoid and the scapular spine. So you know you have to have the spine, but this is above the spine. You would agree? What do you think we call the muscle that sticks there? The supraspinatus. Okay? If you remember this is the spine, then you might remember the muscle goes here. It would be the opposite. What would its name be? The infraspinatus. Does that make sense? Literally, this part of the scapula, they're going to call the infraspinatus. They're going to call this the supraspinatus, but we named the muscle after the spot where it's attached. It's that simple. Let's go ahead and, if you're doing the follow along, we are looking right here. See the supraspinous process and the infraspinous process. The muscle that goes here is the supraspinatus. The muscle that goes there is the infraspinatus. I'm not saying you have to memorize these, but if you remember all those directional terms that we talked about in the beginning of the class, if you remember all the bony terms like spine, or let's say another way, all the things that were on page 106 that I said memorize, all the things that were on page 111 that I said memorize, if you memorize them, it'll make it so much easier. Does that make sense? Yes. In this case, memorize the spine, and the things below and above it will become easy. Now the widened end of the spine is the acromion. So we've now done 3 of the 4 things that you have to know. You got to know the glenoid fossa, you got to know the spine, you got to know the acromion. There's only one left, and it's just easier to see with the color contrast of the blue. So it's going to be this piece here. Like this is our spine, this is our acromion. Below it we have this piece here. And obviously, since there are only 4 things left, it's the coracoid. But what I want you to see, look at it. What does it look like?
A hook.
Who said a bird? You made me very happy. Okay?
Looks like a seagull.
I think it looks more
The
like
rats of the sea.
Yes, I do think it looks more like a gull, but I will tell you, they thought it looked like a raven. They called it a coracoid. When you see coracoid or coronoid, either
Corvid.
one, it's a reference to the beak of a bird called a corvid. That would be a raven or a magpie. Good, good, yes.
I think crows are also in there.
Yes, they are. Crows and ravens are even more closely related than the magpies, yeah. So if you look and you see this bird beaky thing, that's your coracoid. Are we good? All right. You might remember on the mandible, we talked about this last time. Remember this pointy part right here? That was our coronoid. It's still a reference to a bird's beak, and it looks a lot like a bird's
So
beak.
coronoid and coracoid.
Yeah, and I don't know why they're used that way. They conjugate them slightly differently, but yeah, they're both bird beak. Good? Especially raven beak, if I remember correctly. All right, so do you agree on scapula? We have done the acromion, the coracoid, the glenoid cavity, and the spine, yes?
Yes.
We are done with scapula. Go ahead.
Sorry, how did you reference the glenoid cavity? Like, what was your description for it?
I called it a shallow socket. Ball and socket, remember? Yeah, the highest mobility joints we have are ball and sockets. Where the femur goes in, we're about to do this, so the femur goes into the acetabulum, ball and socket. Where the head of the humerus goes into the glenoid, ball and socket.
Thank you.
Good? All right, so we got that. The next thing on our list is the humerus. So let's get us a humerus. We have it here, and
That's the funny bone they always told me about.
ha ha ha. Okay. So right here, this is the wrong side. This is not the matching one, but humerus goes into the glenoid. Yes. The part that does it is the head of the humerus. This rounded part here is the head. Are we good? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So things we need to know on the humerus, the first one is the head. We just did that. Now we need to know a greater and a lesser tubercle. If you look on 106, somebody in the class should have 106 open to keep reading. The tubercle is going to be a sticky uppy thing. Good? Right. Somebody who can get to 106 quickly, read the actual definition of a tubercle for us. Fast, fast.
Small rounded projection or process.
All right, so we're looking at one here. I'll do it on, it'll be easier for people across the room to see here. We have two of them on this humerus. Oh, that's so bad. Okay, that's a little better. You can see it there. I have my little pointer. This, that's almost as high as the articular surface of the head. This is the higher one, and we call it the greater. Oh, it's up high, it's the great one. This one we call the lesser, that's a little bit lower. But if you look at them, the greater, right here, it's actually a bit easier to try to hold it. Of course, I'm now wearing gloves. You can almost hold it by the greater and the lesser. These big lumps are the greater and the lesser. Are we good? Does that make sense?
And the greater is the one that's
more
toward up.
proximal, closer to, further away from the dirt. More
superior.
More superior, more proximal. Good. All right. So that's the greater and the lesser. Now it says they want you to know the surgical neck. The difference in the surgical and the anatomical. Anytime we have a head, the space right next to it that's narrower would be the neck. Good? So we have a head, and this would be the anatomical neck right there. The surgical neck is where they do surgery. If they do a shoulder replacement, they're just going to cut the whole piece off. Good? And they'll screw a new metal piece in that's coated in nice Teflon, slippery. Yeah, it's a major thing.
How do we know like where the neck ends and where the diaphysis begins? Yeah.
Well, there is a nice picture.
I'd assume they overlap some, but
Yeah, they would. But there's a picture of the surgical neck on page 107. If you guys are playing the play at home, play along game, we're on 107 now. Everybody with me?
107.
Yep, and right here we have our surgical neck. That was the next thing you need to know. The next thing on the list after the greater and lesser tubercle, the capitulum.
Okay. That's 147.
What?
You said 107.
Yeah, that's totally different. You're right. 147.
I couldn't find it.
All right, that explains it. But keep your finger near 107. Put a pencil in there. So, because 106, the page before, has that list I kept referring to, or I've done it a couple times already. You might want it for that.
can we try like turning all the front lights off and just the back lights on?
I don't know.
That would probably fix the glare.
I'll give it a shot.
No, that's just
I
all
don't
of
know
them.
that it's possible. Let's try it for a few minutes and you let me know what you think. Okay?
I don't think so.
We're already getting votes against. Right here.
Yeah, that's just worse.
Man, that's actually worse.
That's like night vision type thing. Yeah.
All right.
I was wrong.
Will you do me a favor? Yeah. Turn on the light and then I want you to get a marker behind the screen. I need you to draw. Okay, I'm going to raise the screen, actually make it easy to get to. Because I don't want you drawing on the screen. I've done that and that's a bad idea.
That's better with some of them on.
Okay, good. All right, get a marker.
You got this.
Oh yeah, of course she has this. She's good.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Where's it?
on the tray. Okay, I have here the distal end of the humerus.
Okay.
And I'm going to point at something that I want you to draw. I want you to trace this outline here. Okay, this outline here.
Okay.
Are you good? I'll try to hold it steady,
Yeah, I was
sorry. I'll put it up a little so everyone can see. It's not blocked by the steps.
Okay. It looks like it.
Yeah, good. Go ahead. Yeah, that's good.
Sorry, I'm short.
You're good, I'm short.
Yeah, this is.
That's good, that's all I need.
Yeah, good job.
All right, go ahead and sit back down, Bathsheba. And we're gonna talk really quick.
It's the weirdest 3 I've ever seen.
Okay, so I need to know, this is important, does anybody in here cosplay?
No.
Anybody know what I'm talking about?
My sister does that.
Okay, does your sister by chance make her own costumes?
Yeah.
Does she ever make her own dresses for cosplay?
Yeah, she makes everything.
What is
Okay, so you
Dressing,
Like hair.
dress up as someone else.
I don't know. I don't know.
Usually fictional.
Do you do that?
No, but I know what it is.
No, she doesn't. She goes to like conventions.
Is it like some anime thing?
It can
Some-
be.
often, yes.
Often it is, yeah.
I have pictures on her Instagram that I can show you.
Okay, let's pick a dress form. Let's go with one that's not too unrealistic. We'll go with, say, this one. And, all right. So people who make their own dresses often use dressmaking forms, yes? And when you do a dressmaking form, I'm going to pretend this one has a head on it, some do. But we've got an outline for where the shoulders are, where the waist is, where the skirt would be. You would agree that's a dressmaking form, yes?
Yeah.
All right. So now use your imagination and pretend we came pretty close to making a dressmaking form, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, there are two parts that you need to learn that are part of the dressmaking form. One of them is the capitulum. I know when you see the head like an O around, you want to think O, but I want you to think of the letter C in the word capitulum. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay? And the T down here, I want you to think of the trochlea. Okay? That's where the skirt would be formed. Are we good so far?
Yes.
All right. And so you can look at these on the distal end of the humerus. Good? Yeah? Now, the humerus, pretend to be surprised, is another bone that on a previous semester in the school I have used for stick it in a box. Somebody has to reach their hand in and tell me if it's a left or a right.
Oh my god.
Yes, I'll do that. If you complain, I'll do it in this class for sure. But you said, oh my God, I'm going to ask you some questions.
You
No.
shouldn't have said anything, man.
No, this will be easy. This will be easy. The head of the humerus.
Yeah.
Would you agree it has to touch the scapula?
Yeah.
Okay. So this side that touches the scapula, touches, what part of the scapula? I'm looking for a G word.
Or the depression piece, whatever
Yes,
it's called.
the glenoid fossa.
Glenoid thing.
Or glenoid
Yeah.
cavity. Okay. This piece has to touch the glenoid. You agree? So, this side that touches, I'll turn it
It
around.
has to touch the sad bone.
Yes, yes. Would you agree that this side would be the medial side of the humerus, and this side would be the lateral side, yes? Do you think you could stick your hand in a box and you feel a giant knob, you're like, oh, that's the medial side? That's not scary, is it? That's not bad. Okay, if you know the medial side of a bone, if you tell medial from lateral, if you can tell front from back, you've got it. So, on our scapula, you can find the glenoid, right? And you know that's the lateral side of that bone. How do you know front from back? The spine is on the back. So if you can find this and this, you know what side it is. Does that make sense? And correct, you said it correctly. This one would be the right, okay? Well, this one you know is the left, and one of the ways is medial from lateral. But we need a way to tell left from right. Oh, let's look at this. How can we tell left from right? Something that we might have mentioned in passing last week when I said we name things after what they touch. Do you remember?
You just said it like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, I said it like 7 times last week, do you recall? We'll try again. Hey, Alex, what is this?
That's the elbow.
Right. I wanted you to tell me it was the O word part of the ulna.
Oh, that's the
It's the olecranon. So, would you
That
agree
slipped my
when this
mind.
elbow is straightened, the olecranon of the ulna goes right into that notch? What do you think we call that notch?
the
It's the olecranon fossa. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So now, do you agree that if you know there's a big notch on the distal end, it's to the back. It's not there on the front.
Well, there is kind of one.
Oh, there's a little one, but I want you to put your thumb in that. Do it blindfold, close your eyes. Now, put it in the back. Okay. Now, do you agree there's a difference? There's a difference. No, it's not a little bit. It's pretty. I'm going to spin it around behind my back. You're going to close your eyes. And I'm going to hand it to you. I'm going to put the distal end in your hand, and I want you to tell me what is facing you. Good? It's right there. Now feel the other side. I'm going to turn around. I'm putting it back the way it was. What is facing you? The anterior or the posterior?
The bigger one.
Which is the olecranon
Posterior.
knot. Yes, the olecranon knot's on the posterior side. You would be able to tell me what side of the body this came from by finding two facts. Do you agree?
Yeah.
And you're capable of doing that with your eyes closed. You just did the more difficult one. Let's do the easy one. Close your eyes. Now, I'm going to hold it up. Slide your hand down the diaphysis. Okay, so everyone can see. Hold it up. Use your other hand and point to the medial surface of that. She could tell both what side of the body it is, couldn't she? In fact, do it right now. You're holding your hand. Is this? Close your eyes.
Left.
Yes. Very good. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I've used this before. Hey, let's go back to our list. Everybody has this list up on their phone, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, we've done the head of the humerus, the greater tubercle, the lesser tubercle, the surgical neck, the capitulum, the trochlea, and the olecranon fossa. Sorry. So we have left the lateral and medial epicondyle. Somebody tell me what epi means?
Above.
Above. Somebody look on page 106 and tell me what a condyle is.
Isn't that the like the mountain bit? Like a spike almost?
Rounded articular projection.
Exactly, rounded articular projection. So, let's do this. Let's hold it up for everyone to see. We'll look at the picture in a minute, but first we're going to look at the real thing.
Thing's not up.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, sorry. I'll point it out, and then by the time I'm ready to do it, point it out on the picture, it'll be there too.
Should we put the screen
So,
down?
would you agree this whole mass of capitulum and trochlea, we've got articulation going on, covering articular cartilage? All right, good. Would you agree this is a lump that is above that, is higher up, it's a little more proximal? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be an epiphysis. Would you agree this is a much more massive lump that is above that? Yes? So I would say you have an epicondyle and a big epicondyle, right? Yes, I used the big voice. I'm sorry, it was scary. I didn't mean for it to be. Okay, you have an epicondyle and a big epicondyle. How are you going to tell which one is which? Well, you know already. This is posterior, this is medial. The big one is the medial. Let me say it another way. The medial one is massive. And the reason I said it that way is because it's not always, not 100%. But as we go through the appendicular again and again and again, you're going to find that we have to determine which is which. The medial is going to be the massive one most of the time. Does that work? I don't get enough nods. Are you with me? All right. Hey, have we done everything on the humerus?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. I don't think we even need to pull up the picture in the lab book yet. Are we good so far?
Yes.
All right, I do want to show you a little oh my gee whiz thing that's pretty cool. All right, yeah.
Do we want to put the screen down?
Of course, I have two radius. Here we go. All right, here we go. First, I want you to look down here at the articular surface. I guess I'll put it up there where everyone can see it. It'll be a little difficult because everything washes out on the screen here. I'll turn it a little to try and make it more obvious. That's hard. Okay. Do you see a line right here? Yes?
Can I move the skeleton?
Yeah, totally. I can move the skeleton for you.
I'm just gonna get close up for the
Yeah,
the
that's
video.
great. And then I'll point. Okay, what I'm trying to draw attention to, first, let's do a couple things. We had the capitulum and what was the T word here?
That was the trochlea.
Trochlea, okay. Yeah, so what do we have here? We have a big notch that it fits in. What are we going to call it? Trochlear notch, very good. Now, electron goes into electron fossa. You with me? What I want to point out, would you agree that when we're looking right here at the bottom, it's raised and sunk and then raised? It's like there's a depression in the middle of that articular cartilage, yes? Yes. Was the waist on the dressmaking? Look right here. In the notch, there is a ridge that is raised. I know it's hard to see. Do it on your own models. Everybody should get a box if they don't have one already. Maybe we should stop the video to do that, but let's run with this. There is a ridge in the trochlear notch. I'm going to put my finger close to it. Do you see it, Alex?
Yep.
Right here. Guess what? The ridge goes in the notch. What that means is that it's hard to move the bone side to side. It sits in the groove. Good? The raised area sits in the groove. All right, so when we're done with that, we're now going to do the radius and the ulna. You're with me?
Yes.
All right, here I have, these are the radii, or I guess the radiuses, whatever.
I feel like it would be radii.
Sure. All right, so take a look at this. The proximal end is what shape?
It's a circle.
A circle. So it makes sense. A radius, a diameter, circumference. We're using geometry words, right? The radius is named because it has that perfectly round, perfectly circular top, the proximal end. Good? Yep. Okay, so that's simple. Before we go on, I'm going to point out something that makes it easy when you're figuring out what bone is what. Notice the radius on the proximal end is fairly small, but the distal end is kind of chunky. Are you with me?
Yes.
See it? Okay. The ulna is the opposite. The proximal end is kind of big, and the distal end is kind of petite. It's on the tiny side. Does that make sense? Everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay, so these two, look at it on the skeleton itself, they are opposed to each other. The radius, if you're looking at the distal end, if I only showed you the distal end, and I show you these two next to each other, you don't need to see the circle to notice the radius. It's the big one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Whoa. No, go ahead. What were you doing? No, you're good.
It's like a chicken wing.
What? You're trying to figure out which end goes which?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Let's do it together. On the ulna, the proximal end is big, and the distal end is itty bitty. Oops, I didn't mean to throw it at you, but you understand, right? Okay, good for the camera. All right, the radius,
Strut your
the
stuff.
proximal end, the round end, the reason it has this name, it's little, but this end is massive. The distal end is big. Good. All right, now, what do we like to name things after in anatomy?
Things that touch.
Where they
The
are.
things they touch, perfectly. So we're going to have the radius touch the ulna. And you were looking for where they went together, but you did come very close to getting it right. You were perfect before you flipped this around when you lost your confidence. This radius here, I want you to hold it in that notch right there, okay? There's a notch on the top of the ulna right there, and I want you to put the radius against it and hold it there. While
Like this?
the camera's gonna follow me. I think you've got it right. I can't see that far. I'll be right there. The camera's gonna follow me. Everybody move your wrist, rotate your wrist. The way you do that is the head of the radius is turning in that notch. Do you see it? You see it? I'm gonna make sure they're okay. Did you see it?
Yeah.
You can practice with this one. All right. Let's see. Yes, but head in the notch. And the movement of your wrist, rotate your wrist. What you're doing is rotating like this. Are we good? We're good? Does that make sense? All right. Now, that was mine, yeah. Okay, so, no. You were doing good. You're doing good.
Don't steal my bones.
Here, head of the radius in the radial notch of the ulna. We, just like you said, we name it for what it touches. It touches the part of the ulna we call the radial notch. Does that make sense? Now, if you look at the distal end, Yeah, say it loud, say it proud.
They go together.
That's what I was gonna say. There's a little divot there where they touch. Yay. Okay, everybody good with that so far?
Yes.
Well, on the radius, we have to identify the head, the radial tuberosity, and the styloid process. So here we have the head. It's that round circular proximal end. Are you with me?
Can we put the screen back down if we're not gonna write on it anymore?
You'd rather have the list?
Just so I don't have the writing in it anymore.
Oh, sure. I can erase
Yeah.
that really fast.
Oh, cool.
All right.
Move this guy real quick.
Yeah, that's great. All right, we have our radius, and this round end of it's the proximal end. That's the head. Hey, what do you think the narrow area below the head is?
The neck.
Very good. It's not one you know, but that is the case. Now, the radial tuberosity, 106. What is a tuberosity?
Tuberosity is a large rounded projection, maybe roughened.
Okay. Hey, would you agree? I'm going to get close to the camera because that won't show. Would you agree this surface is roughened?
Let me see.
Right here? Sticking out, sticking in, sticking out.
Yeah.
Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, that's roughened. Would you agree it's a projection, it sticks out?
Yes.
And it's even bigger than the head, or it's at least as big as the head, yes? This is the radial tuberosity. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the only other thing they want you to know on the radius is the styloid process. Now, we looked at the skull, at beautiful styloid process that was like the size of a pencil lead. This is more of a use your imagination styloid process. But it's still a pointy, sticky down thing that is on the distal end of the bone. You with me?
Yes.
Yeah, you're holding upside down, but yes, exactly. You're pointing the right thing. I knew you knew that too. I'm not trying to shame you. You're trying to make it easy for me to see. But yes, the radius on the distal end has the furthest most down pointing piece. That's a styloid process. Are you with me?
Yes.
All right. So we've done our radius. We got that. Now let's talk about the ulna. The ulna, we already said, this top by the trochlear notch is the olecranon process, yes?
Yes.
And we already talked about the trochlear notch that that surrounds the trochlea of the humerus, yes? Okay, so we've got that. What else do we need to know? I'll give you a guess. It sticks down and it's pointy and it's on the distal end. What do you think it's called?
Oh, it's the S process, whatever it's called.
Yes, exactly. It's the styloid process of the ulna.
The
You with me?
stylish process.
We've got the ulna. We've done everything we need to know on the ulna on this list. All right, here's where we get complicated. So far, it's been kind of fun and games. Now we get the complicated stuff.
The hand.
We're going into the hand. So, if you are playing the home game following along, page 149. This is where I have the pictures. Now, I'm going to give you the good and the bad of what I have in my hands. I have both hands. One is held together with fishing line, so it's easy to look at the parts all around. One of them, they are all held together with wire and spring articulated, and they actually look like the hand. I like this right hand better, but it's the opposite of the left hand that's in the illustration. So we're going to work with it and just try to do the best we can. Good? All right. But first, we need to pull up cartoons of food. And then make this work for everybody. You ready?
Hey, it's
Alright.
Mabel in a ham costume.
What?
It's Mabel in a ham costume.
All right, so we are copying this ham. And we're going to put it into paint so we can use it in lots of ways.
MS Paint,
Yes, exactly.
the greatest image changer, whatever it's
We
called.
don't need high
Image
tech,
editor.
we need paint. All right. Everybody agrees we have a cartoon ham on the screen, yes? Yes. All right, so let's take a look at the picture first in your textbook, and then we will come back. I'm going to get close to the camera so this works. All right. What I want you to see, and I want to explain a little history here. Last year at this time, spring semester, we would have just said, oh, those are the carpal bones. The wrist bones are the carpal bones. Over the summer, we had a big meeting talking about what students need to know, don't need to know, and we decided you need more detail than that. A lot of schools in the area, you have to memorize all 8 of the bones. We're not doing that. We're making you memorize the 4 that are most frequently broken, so that the 4 are the most clinical significance. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, so if you look right here, you're going to see the hamate bone. You see hamate?
Yes.
All right, and if you follow the arrow, that's pointing to this one here. I'm going to outline it. It's shaped a little bit like that ham. I'm going to orient the ham with the bone upwards, but you see narrow here, wide here. You see sloping kind of trapezoid shape going on. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Now, let's look at it up here. Would you agree you've got kind of the same shape going on there, guys? The hamate bone, now let's go over this real carefully. These are the carpal bones, good? Carpal bones are the wrist bones. By the way, my thesis was on the carpal bones. Do you think I might want to put some of them on the test just because?
Oh, probably you will.
Yeah, probably. So that's another way of saying know these things. You've been warned. Good? All right. So there are 8 carpal bones.
8 carpal bones, okay.
And you're going to have to know 4 of them. The first one we're working on is the hamate. But before we do that carpal bone, I want you to look at your hand. I want you to notice that we have digit 1, that's the thumb, digit 2, digit 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to have you use the Roman numerals on the test. Did you hear that?
Okay, hold on.
Oh, excellent question. Who said it? Who said it?
I did.
Okay. Do you know why? Because you're going to use the Roman numerals on the cranial nerves, and it's good if you start practicing now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. And
Wait.
this is like a baby step. This is 5. You don't have to go to all 12 yet.
Aren't
That'll be
there
cranial nerves?
Aren't there billions of nerves in the cranium?
But there are 12 named pairs that you're going to need to know for this class.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Go ahead.
No,
So-
I'm just talking.
All right, we're recording, just remember that. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you're with me? Okay, 1 would be the thumb side of the body, 2 would be the pointer finger, the middle finger is 3, the ring finger is 4, the pinky is 5.
Is that
Good?
reversed on the other hand, or is it the same?
Oh, excellent question. When we're in the standard anatomical position, the thumbs are always lateral,
Yes.
but we have all the same parts. They're just organized opposite of each other. We call that chirality.
So the thumbs are always
It's
one
like a
moving
mirror.
out.
Yeah, but anatomical position is like this. But these 2 hands are a mirror image of each other. Good? But what I wanted to say is the thumb, either hand, is always going to be 1. Now, there's something else about the thumb. We'll look at the picture on 149. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. The picture on 149, the radiograph, that's a fancy name for an X-ray photo. This radiograph, when it comes up, what you're going to see is we have here a thumb. You would agree?
Yes.
And here we have a pinky. Would you agree?
Yes.
All right. Notice, so this would be, if these are carpals, these would be metacarpals. Good? Metacarpal 1,
That's the
metacarpal
palm
2,
bones.
metacarpal 3, metacarpal 4, metacarpal 5.
That's
Good?
the palm bones.
Yeah, I'm pointing, yeah, that would be correct. These right here. Now I want you to notice something special about them. Actually, something special about the first digit, the thumb. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, when you look at the thumb, right here we have the carpal bones, and distal to the carpal bones, we have a metacarpal a phalanx and a phalanx.
Only have
Together
two.
we call this phalanges. We're talking about digit bones that are below the carpals. This has 3. Every other one has 4. A metacarpal, a proximal phalanx, a middle phalanx, and a distal phalanx. You guys see that?
Yes.
All right. So I have on a test, I'm not saying I'm going to do that for you guys, but I have taken a hand and wrapped it in a paper towel, leaving the 2 digits sticking out where they could be seen, and asked which one of the 2 was the thumb. Would you be able to tell? Yeah, count the bones. If you got 4 bones, it's the pinky. If you got 3 bones, it's the thumb. Does that make sense? Which is what Roman numeral?
Which one? It's
The
either
thumb is what Roman numeral?
a 1.
1. Very
I.
good. So now that we have that, let's look at the diagram that has the Roman numerals written in. You with me? And right here, again, we're going to go for the hamate. The hamate, if you look right here, it's this trapezoid shape right there. Good? This hamate is in the distal row, and it is articulating with 4. The metacarpal 4, it's touching it. It's not touching metacarpal 5. It might, maybe right there at the corner, be talking to metacarpal 3 just a little bit. But it's mostly a metacarpal 4 thing. The hamate is 4. Are we good with that?
Yes, it looks like.
All right. Say it.
It looks like it's touching 5 here.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll zoom in and we'll see if we can. Now, hold up the one you were looking at. Oh, you're looking at the good one. You're looking at the articulated one. Let's focus. All right. So I'll go again around the bone. This is the hamate. You can tell because it's labeled hamate. Good. Well, I'm just saying it. And it is articulating on this little surface here, the narrow end, certainly touching 4, and maybe just corner to corner touching 3.
Right.
It is definitely not touching 5.
What's the other part of that bone there?
So it looks like it's touching 5.
What's the other half of the bone?
Yeah, the other.
Oh, I was thinking it was a separate bone. I could be wrong. If it is this wide, this much trapezoid, thank you for correcting me, then I would say 4 and 5, if that's the whole thing. Yes, I was thinking that would be a separate bone. I'll admit it when I'm wrong. I have no issue.
That's good for you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I was looking
No,
at it
I
right.
think you are probably right. Now, that is on the 5, 4 and 5, the 5 side, the pinky side of the hand. Are you with me?
Yes.
The next one we're going to do is also on the pinky side of the hand, and it's the P word, the pisiform. This will be in the proximal row. Okay? If you look right here, this one, the pisiform, very, very round in humans. Okay? So we'll look at it here. In this model, where they're not all stuck together, articulated, it's this piece. Sorry, let me get the pointer away. It's this one. This would be your pisiform. Are we good? This is your pisiform. Now let's do it on this model. Here it's stuck to another bone. This is pisiform. Proximal row. See, proximal row, pinky side. Are you with me? I hear a lot of people who are talking and not looking, or did you hear it said? Oh, that's fine, then that's fine. Would you agree the pisiform is in the proximal row? It's on the pinky side of the hand. Oh, let me say it the anatomy way. It is on the digit 5 side of the hand. Good? Everybody solid with that? All right, we've got 2 of the 4 that you need to know. So let's pull up our list right here. We need to know the pisiform, we need to know the hamate. The other 2 are the scaphoid and the triquetrium. So, the scaphoid is right here. It's proximal row,